Hello and welcome to the tutorial for my Lost in Neverland gatefold album. If you are to this point, you have probably watched the tutorial, or I'm sorry, not the tutorial, the walkthrough. It is a big album. It will take a little bit of time. Of course, the matting and the decorating always takes much longer than the actual construction of the album, but that's okay. This is 5 pages. We're doing the pages a little bit differently. We're not doing a hinge system on this. It's going to be more of a flap type thing. I'm not even sure how to explain it. It was something I wanted to try. It was similar to a tutorial that I followed by somebody else where they had done a very large album, like 11 by 11, I think it was. It was really huge. But they had done this and it worked fairly well. So to make this took, as far as supplies, I had 2 full collection kits of Lost in Neverland. I had 2 of the matching solids packs, which they only have like 6 sheets a piece in them. So, and I ended up not using all of those. I think I have 3 or 4 of those left. I did supplement this, which I do tend to do, with collections that have lots of cut aparts, like the borders and the 4x6 and 4x4 and 3x4 cut aparts. I do tend to either buy, if I happen to buy at the local store. This I ordered from Country Craft Creations, and Tammy has individual sheets as well as the collection kit, so I did order extra sheets of the cut aparts and the borders, and then this sheet that I was going to use on the front of the book. So keeping that in mind as we go through and do the tutorial, you don't have to do every little element I did in here. There are a lot of inserts and tags and things that I did that mostly with scraps. In fact, I don't think at the point that I was doing that, I don't think I had any whole sheets of paper left. I think I was down to just scraps. So keep that in mind. I will put the measurements in the video, as well as I will try and write up a cut list that I will either put in the description on the video or possibly link on Google Docs. I know I've done that before because they kind of come out a little bit better, and it's easier for you to save or print or whatever. So that does not want to stay closed for me. It is a bigger project. It will take a little bit of time, but the end result is really pretty cool. So let's get started. Okay, so let's start with our base. For our base, you're going to need chipboard. 1 piece, 8 by 10. Since this is a gatefold, you're going to have one 8 by 7 and 8 by 3, because those, of course, are going to close in like that. And then the spines are also 8 by 3. So 3 pieces, 8 inches by 3 inches, 1 8 by 10, and 1 8 by 7. Okay, I've got these all prepped. This was my first time I bought some of the 8.5 by 11 sheets of score tape from Country Craft Creations, and oh my gosh, those are amazing. This is the first time I've used them, so that was way cool, actually. So let's get our paper ready to cover. So our cover is going to be 2 pieces 10 by 12, 1 piece 10 by 8. To help line up my chipboard pieces on here, I have actually scored these. If you can see that just barely. 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom. I just find that helps me line these up a little bit better. Why on earth did I put score tape on all 3 ends? That's what I get for trying to plan ahead, huh? Not a big deal. Okay, so I think, let's see here, how do I want to do this? Because we're going to have that like that. And then that's going to put actually it's going to be closer to that. Okay. So when you're putting these together, you do want the 10 by 12s together and then the short one on the end. So that being said, let me find where's my little knife? There it is. Thought I had everything sitting here ready to go. Okay. So to get these put together, I'm just going to peel that score tape back ever so slightly, or the backing on the score tape. I'm going to line this up down here at the bottom. I'm going to line up on top of that score tape backing, and I'm also going to line up my little scored lines down here. Once I have that lined up where I want it, I'm going to push it down up here. And then I'm just going to keep holding on to this down here as I gently pull that backing out from between, pressing down as I go. And there we go. Slide this out just a little bit so you can see what we're doing. I'm actually going to leave that one facing up like that because I have extra score tape that I didn't actually need. But that's okay. Alright, so we're going to line this up here. Same thing again. Get lined up, push down. Oops. Alright. So, now we're going to start on this end over here. And we're going to start with our left cover piece. We're going to get this about 1 inch out from the edge. Dang it, that's going to put it really close, isn't it? Sorry, bear with me for just 1 second. I haven't done a gatefold in a while. Okay, we're going to start on the other end. I think that will be better. We just don't want this seam too close to like an edge where something's going to have to bend. So we're going to start on this other end instead. And this is probably going to be a little bit long. If you want to kind of see how this actually comes out and adjust it down, then by all means, feel free. Okay, so I'm going to start this one about 1 inch from the edge. You know, you burnish and you burnish, and some days it still just does not want to stay down. And today is one of those days, I'm telling you. It wasn't enough that, you know, I was changing the blade in my Cricut knife and got the blade changed, no problem, went to like put the cap on and it slipped and it just went like this right into my finger. I'm like, perhaps the universe does not want me crafting today. Fat chance. Anyway, okay, so we're going to go in about an inch from the side here. We're going to line this up on this score line on the bottom and drop it down. Then we are going to take our 1/4 inch score tape and we're going to run that right in there between so we have a visual for where we need to, which that was actually a spine piece, but since the spine and the cover are the same, it's fine. Which, that was fortunate because that could have been a mess and we would have been starting over. Yay! Oh, for crying out loud. This does not want to cooperate with me today. We're going to do the same thing again. You're going to get this up next to that score tape. Get it right down on that line. And then down it goes. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with the score tape again. We're going to put down our 1/4 inch that runs right next to that. And apparently I'm tearing too much of it off here, but that's okay. Alright, now we're going to get it off the back of this big piece. Same thing again, we're just lining it up against the edge of the score tape and our scored line at the bottom of the book. Okay? Yep, that's going to be better. Okay? So again, 1/4 inch. Get our backing off the tape. Okay. And one more time with the 1/4 inch. And we'll put down our left side cover. And since we're here, I'm actually going to pull the backing off of that one because that'll help stick it all down. Okay, so again, line it all up. All right. So yeah, so our chipboard for our cover is about 1.5 inches too long. That's fine. It's not a big deal. All we're gonna do, slide this over, bring in the little paper trimmer, just kind of eyeball it to about 1 inch, and just cut off that extra piece. Not a big deal. Okay. So I'm sure by now most of you know the process here, but just in case you are new to this, I will go through it anyway. We're going to miter our corners. I like to use a scrap of the chipboard to kind of give me a little bit of space between this corner down here and where I'm actually going to draw my line to cut on. There's apparently no lead coming out of the pencil. There we go. I'm going to do this on each corner. And if you want to eyeball it and do it, that's fine. Every time I eyeball it, I end up cutting off way too much and cutting too far down into this. So that is why, even after doing these for quite a while, I still do it that way. Okay. So, actually before I trim that, let's get our there it is. I'm losing stuff right and left today. We're going to take our 5/8 score tape. We're going to run it around our edges. I had somebody actually ask me on my little mini folio tutorial what this is I'm using to help tear my score tape. This is a mat scraper for the Cricut, so like when you pull your project off your mat, you're trying to get all the little paper pieces off, you just, you know, scrape it off. And it works perfectly because it's a lot more comfortable to hold on to, I think. You know, I can use it to burnish down the tape, which is really nice because I can literally just kind of do what I would do if I was scraping a mat anyway, just backwards. Because a mat, I would scrape it like that way. But it does help to actually burnish down my score tape, which is nice. Okay, so now we are going to cut, and what I do is I tend to cut just slightly to this side of that line. I don't want to cut in, I want to kind of cut to the outside of it. Okay. So now we're just going to pick this up and start training this side. This is the other place where doing that score line at 1 inch helps, because it helps when you're trying to train the paper to bend up so that you can wrap it around your book. Where it's already got a score line there, it does kind of help it to bend and bend evenly, so that you don't end up with like a bubbly spine. Not that, you know, that can't be dealt with, but it's just nice to not have to deal with that. So we'll see if this wants to actually flow for me today. Okay, so before we, actually I'm going to pull the backing off here first. Okay, so I'm going to pull the backing off my tape on one of the long sides. And then I'm going to take and run. Maybe not with this one, because this is really starting to tick me off. As much as I love that fine tip, all I seems to do lately with it is fight. So we're just going to use the normal tip. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe we are not using any glue today, because apparently it all hates me. Okay. There we go. I'm just going to run a little bead right along the top of that chipboard. That will just help when we start working this over. And work from the middle out to the edges as you push that down. Okay? We're going to turn it around. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. The same thing again. We're just going to kind of work this up, start in the middle, and just smooth out to the edges. Okay. All right, so before I go any further, I am going to take my foam holder. And so this one is like kind of a heavier one. I mean, there's some weight to it. And it's a Teflon one, so like nothing sticks to it. And it just glides. I found this on Amazon for, I think like $10. It was not super expensive. And it's the only one I've been using because it does come in a couple other shapes and sizes and whatnot. But this seems to work just about perfectly for me. So, all right. And we're going to do this on the edge. But before we do that, wherever my little cricket went, there it is, we are going to push our corners in to help give this a nice crisp corner. Okay. We're going to pull that off. Grab that glue again. I know what I did. I forgot to cut my gusset hiders. But that's okay. We'll do that here in just a minute. Alright. Let's push those corners in again. Alright, so there is our base. We do need to cut some gusset hiders here, and I'm trying to decide if I want to do them like all the way where we cover everything or just cover our gussets. Let's cover everything. Okay. So if we go, let's say 7 3/4. I'm going to have to grab another pack of paper because this is the last one of this one. Okay, so we're going to go 7 3/4. Actually, I didn't go 7 3/4. I went 6 3/4. That was really dumb. Oh my gosh, I am on a roll today. Now I gotta find my other green. So for this, I am using the dark green artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. Let's see if we can do it with 2 pieces. Yeah, we're gonna need another scrap, but that's okay. Anyway, green artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations. This stuff is really, really heavy, really nice, really easy to work with, scores beautifully, doesn't crack. It's awesome. That's all I bought some just to try it out here, I don't know, a couple months ago. Because I've been buying magnets there for a while, and quite honestly was so impressed with it, that's all I bought since. Okay, so let's see here. We don't run that all the way to the ends. Nope, we're still going to need a piece. Okay. Alright, so let's do this. I'm going to take a scrap here. We're going to cut it to 7 3/4. And we're going to kind of So at this point I have two pieces, 7 3/4 by 12, and I have one 7 3/4 by, what is this, 4 1/4, which this is just one of the scraps from my pages and whatnot. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this because I want the small one, I think, underneath these bigger ones. So I'm going to kind of just get these about where I want them. Kind of get this one where I want it. And I'm actually going to make just a couple little marks on here with my pencil so I can get them lined up right. And so for this, how do I want to cover this? I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my adhesive down on here. And I've got this big roll of Couture Creations. Apparently I can back my cardstock with this and then run it through my die cut. Or I would assume when they say you can run it through your die cutter, I'm assuming they mean my Cricut, but I haven't tried it yet, so we'll have to see. Okay. And I meant to pull those out of there first. Okay, so before we make too big of a mess, I am going to work this down in here and get that backing off of that 1/4 inch score tape. And I should have done it before I put this down. But honestly, I forgot about it, so we're going to leave it. It's fine. We're just going to leave it there. It's not going to hurt anything. And then we'll come in here. Okay. And then I think I'm going to take my, where's the other one? Okay, so we'll do it with this other one. Okay, and this is 2.5 inch score tape. All right. So what I'm then going to do is take my 5/8 and I'm actually going to just put this down on the edges of this. And I just covered up my pencil marks, didn't I? I did. That's okay. Yeah, about right there looks good. All right. Okay, so this would be the big Cricut mat scraper, which is the one I actually do use to scrape my mats. I haven't used the little one in, I can't even tell you how long. Okay. All right, so let's get in here. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on these. I'm going to run score tape along the top and bottom. And on one end. Okay. So piece here. Okay. All right, so okay, and we'll do the same thing with this other piece. Once we're sure everything's on here the way we want it, then we'll pull this bottom piece out. And that will cover our gussets, and then we can start bending and training it the way it needs to open and close. All right, so on this end, I'm going to do the same thing I just did. All right, so let's pull this up ever so slightly. Get it under here. And if you wanted to glue this, you absolutely could. I just don't want to take the time necessarily to wait for it to dry. Band-Aid is just not doing me any favors today. I'm having a terrible time getting a hold of anything with that finger. All right. I'm going to pull those off. I'm going to pull that off. Center one, for crying out loud. Okay, and there we go, we have a cover. All right, so now I'm going to take my bone folder, I'm going to start with this thing right here and my next one, and just work that paper down in that crease. There we go, there's one side, and then we just need to do this on our other side. And look at that, we have our gatefold. Perfect. Okay, so we've got our cover. Actually going to set it aside for now. And we're going to start working on our pages. So I have everything cut. We are going to go ahead and score everything, and then I will add tape off camera, and we'll come back and start assembling. Before we do that, though, you are going to need just some very light chipboard. So these are literally just the little chipboard piece that's in the back of the, or like in the middle of the paper packs from like Michael's. Okay, so it's really thin. If you wanted to use cereal boxes, you could. I mean, that's about the weight you need. You need one piece 5 15/16 by 7 15/16. You need two that are 4 13/16 by 4 13/16. So you can go ahead and cut those and then just set them aside because we'll be doing something with those in a little bit here. But let's get started on pages. So for this, and if I were using any other cardstock, I wouldn't dare try doing this. Since we are using the good heavy artisan cardstock on this, we're actually not building a hinge system. We are going to do all of these pages essentially as kind of large flaps, and then we're going to reinforce them when we get them into the actual book and get them put down. But you're going to need 5 pieces that are 7.5, so 7.5 by 10 1/4. Okay, you're going to score these with the 10 1/4 side at the top at 1/2 inch. You need 5 of these. Okay, so for your pages, 5 pieces, 7.5 by 10 1/4. Score them at 1/2 inch with the 10 1/4 side along the top of your scoreboard. Okay, so there are our pages. Set those aside. For the inside front cover, we're actually going to do a little accordion fold mini that is going to attach in there with magnets that we can actually pull out. Okay. For that, what did I do? Did I cut one of these wrong? I must have. Yes, I think that's wrong. Or does that go underneath it? No, this is wrong. Okay, so I should have here, you need 1 page 6 by 6. That one does not need scored. And then you need, no, I just have an extra one for some reason. Yeah, I just have an extra one for some reason. 3 pieces that are going to be, yeah, I don't know why I have 4 in there. Anyway, 3 pieces that are 6 inches by 6.5 inches. Okay, with the 6.5 inch side on the top, you're going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay, we're going to clip all those together. I'm going to write on here, front inside mini, and we're going to set those face down over there. Okay, for our you know what? Let's back up. No, let's go ahead and do this the way I was going to do it. Okay, so for the first page on the front, we're going to have a 6 by 8 frame that's going to sit on top of a flap. On the back side of the flap is going to be a 1/2 page flap. So on the back side of that, we're going to have a 1/2 page flap. And then on the page base itself, we're going to have a pocket. Okay. So for the pocket is going to be 9 inches by 5 inches. With the 9 inch side at the top of the scoreboard, you're going to score each side at 1/2 inch. So score 1/2 inch, flip it all the way around, score another 1/2 inch. Okay, right on that pocket. Okay, so for the frame, we are going to cut a window out of this. We have 2 of them because I need to find my acetate. I couldn't find it a minute ago. I will dig it out here in a second. We're actually going to sandwich, we're going to cut frames into all 3 of these pieces. We're going to sandwich the thin chipboard in between here with a piece of acetate, actually 2 pieces of acetate, and we're going to put some little glittery stuff in there because since we're using the Lost in Neverland paper, you know, we're adding pixie dust to our album. So we're going to keep these 3 together and we're going to set them aside because we will cut that frame here in just a little bit. We're not going to do it right this second. Okay, that frame is going to sit on top of a flap that is going to be 6 inches by 9 inches. This one we're going to score at 1 inch because this will help it to lay a little bit more flat when it's actually attached to the page. For the 1/2 page flap, this is going to be 6 inches by 4.5 inches. We need the 4.5 inch side at the top, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay, so we're going to attach all of this stuff together, and this will be our page 1. So clip that all together, and we're going to go page 1 and set it to the side. Page 1 on the back side, we're going to do 2 flaps. Okay, these are going to be on either side of the page. They're going to open out along the bottom of the page. There's going to be a little tuck spot down here to stick photo mats and whatnot. So, okay, so 7 3/4 by 3.5. You're going to put the 3.5 inch side at the top, and you're going to score it 1/2 inch. For the little tuck spot that's going along the bottom, sorry about that, we're back in business. All right, so your belly band, I'm sorry, not your belly band, your tuck spot that's going to be at the bottom of the page is going to be 1.5 inches by, oh, I didn't ever trim that one. That's what's wrong. Okay, so by 10 3/4 of an inch. Cut just a little sliver more off of that one. Okay, with the 10 3/4 inch side at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch. Turn it around, 1/2 inch. Okay, so these are the back side of page 1. Clip them together, put them face down. Front of page 2, we're going to do a belly band. So there's going to be a belly band across the page. This is 2.5 inches by 10 3/4. We're going to score again at 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. And then we're going to have 2 flaps. So these flaps are going to lay on the page like this. There will be a magnet in here to hold them closed, and then they're going to flip down and up. These flaps are going to be 5 inches by 6.5. So with the 6.5 inch, with the 5 inch side at the top, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay. And let's clip those together and face down. The back side of page 2, and I'm kind of excited about this you're going to do a gigantic waterfall. The waterfall will hold 5 by 7 pictures. So we have 2, 4, 6, 7 pieces that are 6. They're 6 by 7.5. You want the 6-inch side at the top and score at 1/2 inch. You need 7 of these total, so 6 by 7.5. So 6-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch. And we're most likely going to end up adding a band on this to hold these down, but we'll determine that after we actually put this page together. Okay, so these are your page 2, back side of page 2 waterfall. Okay, so before we get into the rest of the book, let's go back to the pockets on the front of page 3. So the measurements on that are 8 by 6, 6 by 6, and 4 by 6. Okay, you're going to score them at 1/2 inch on the side and on the bottom, and then we're going to go ahead and actually add tape on here since I forgot. And I am using 3/8" score tape for all of this. Okay. Alright, so then we're going to start with our smallest pocket. And from that score line, this is where I got all screwed up earlier. Okay, so that score line's at 1/2 inch, so we're going to go over about 1.5 inches from that, make a mark. And then from the bottom one, we're going to go up about 2 inches from the score line. Okay. Grab the trimmer. And we're just going to line that up in here. And turn that off. Okay. Now we're going to take our next pocket and we're going to kind of see about where we want to go with this one. Okay. So that was at about 1.5 inches in. So I think on this next one, we're going to go to 3 inches from the score line. So if you're measuring from the edge of the paper, it's going to be 3.5. If you're measuring from the score line, it's going to be 3 inches. And then we're going to keep the one at the bottom the same. So at the bottom, we're going 2 inches from the score line. Or if you're measuring from the bottom, 2.5 inches. We're going to do the same thing again. And trim. which really you don't even have to draw that line. I just find it incredibly helpful to do so. All right. So on the last one, so we've gone 1.5 inches, 3 inches. So let's go 5 inches on this one. And then the same thing on the side. We're going to go 2 inches from our score line. Same thing. And then we're going to trim. There we go. All right, so there's our pockets for page 3. I also got the acetate for everything except the very front element, but we'll deal with that one in a minute. And so then we're just going to cut out that bottom corner on all 3 of these. Alright, so those are ready. Okay. That's okay though. Alright, so we will move on to the back side of page 3. So the back side of page 3, we're going to have 2 envelopes. They're going to be open behind for tags. Envelopes both have little magnetic closures, but for each one of these envelopes, you're going to cut 12 inches by 5.5 inches. We are going to score this with the 12-inch side at the top at 3 inches and 8 inches. You're then going to turn this so that you have your 5.5 inch side at the top. You're going to score it 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. Okay? So basically, when we fold this pocket up, it's going to come up like this. It's going to come down like this. We're going to fold in. Actually, we're going to trim from here up through the top. Okay, so then this flap will fold in to create our envelope. Okay, but we'll do that when we go to attach them to the page. So for now, once again, 5.5 by 12, 12-inch side at the top. We're scoring at 3 inches and 8 inches. Turn it so that 5.5 is at the top. Score it at 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. Okay. Right on that. That's page 3. Okay. The back side of page 4, we're in the home stretch here, I promise. We're going to do, okay, so these pockets I did right. There's going to be 2 pockets, and then we're going to have a flap in the middle. The flap, the large flap, is going to be 7 inches by 6 inches with the 7-inch side at the top. We're going to score this at 1 inch. On that, there's going to be 2 flaps that are going to come out. Those are going to be 5.5 by 5 with the 5-inch side at the top. we're going to score it 1/2 inch. There's going to be 2 of those. Okay. And then the pockets, these are the ones I needed to angle like I was talking about. All right, so the pockets are going to be 5.5 by 4.5. So we're going to put 4.5 up at the top, score it at 1/2 inch, turn it so 5.5 is at the top, score it at 1/2 inch. Okay. Those, see, this is where I screwed up because I knew I was doing something weird. Pages sliding everywhere on me. Okay, so this one is where we're going to take, and we've got, what, 4 inches at the top here, where we're going to take and go, we're going to go in 1 inch from this score line. And then we're going to go up 1.5 inches from this other score line. And then that's where we're going to connect the 2 and trim them off. Actually, I want to do it with those. That's just begging for me to mess them up. Okay, the one for the other side, make sure your score lines are on your right hand side, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go 1 inch in from the right hand score line. This one it's on the left, this one it's on the right, and then we're going to come up 1.5 inches on the bottom. No, let's measure right, that would help. And then do the same thing again. And then trim it off. Okay. So those pockets are going to go like this. This flap is going to be, I think we've got it coming down. Anyway, okay. Gather all that up, clip that together. That is the back side of page 4. Page 5, we're going to do kind of a stacked accordion. So the base of this is going to be 9.5 by, did I not write this down? 6. With the 9.5 on the top, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. The next one is going to be 5.5 by 8.5. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch. The next one is going to be 5 inches by 7.5, 7.5 at the top, and score. Then we've got 4.5 by 6.5, 1/2 inch score. 4 by 5.5, 1/2 inch. And the last one is going to be 3.5 by 4.5, score it at 1/2 inch. So this one ought to be kind of fun when we put it together because we're going to kind of go back and forth. Kind of do a zigzag thing with this, and it should be kind of cool. Okay, the back side of page 5, we're going to have a belly band with a 1/2 page flap. So this is going to be 8.5 by 4.5, 8.5 at the top, score at 1/2 inch. Our flap is going to be 4.5 by 4 1/4. With 4 1/4 at the top, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay. And then we're going to do like a little folio that's going to slide under that belly band. Page 5, we're going to do kind of a stacked accordion. So the base of this is going to be 9.5 by, did I not write this down? 6. With the 9.5 on the top, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. The next one is going to be 5.5 by 8.5. And we're going to score at 1/2 inch. The next one is going to be 5 inches by 7.5, 7.5 at the top, and score. Then we've got 4.5 by 6.5, 1/2 inch score. 4 by 5.5, 1/2 inch. And the last one is going to be 3.5 by 4.5, score it at 1/2 inch. So this one ought to be kind of fun when we put it together because we're going to kind of go back and forth. Kind of do a zigzag thing with this, and it should be kind of cool. We're just going to do a normal pocket. We're not going to do anything fancy. We're going to fold this over. We're going to make it bigger. Okay. So we're going to go 10.5 by 5. We're going to score this at 1/2 inch on each end. Out. Let me find the other one. It's sitting over here. Okay. All right, let's try this again. So we're going to do a flat pocket because the flap for the top is going to be 9.5 by 4.5. I'm going to turn this so we have the 4.5 inch side on the top, and we're going to score this at 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. Okay. I'll clip those together, and we're ready to start assembling our pages. I am going to take a break. I'm going to put tape on everything, and I'll be right back. on the back and set it to the side. Okay, page 4 for the front. We're going to do 2 more of our little glitter frames. So that's where these 2 thin chipboard pieces go. So you need 4 pieces that are 4 7/8 by 4 7/8. Those you're going to put with your 2 little chipboard pieces. Those are going to go on flaps just like the big one on the front. So this one needs to be 4 7/8 by 5 7/8. We're scoring this at 1 inch with the 5 7/8 side at the top so that we can guarantee it's going to lay flat. The bigger you make this piece on the other side of the score line that's actually getting glued down, the flatter it's going to lie. Okay, underneath that we have another missized pocket. God, I'm on a roll today. I'm going to take another inch off of this one. So we've got 10 3/4 of an inch, not 11 3/4 like I wrote down. Okay, so 10 3/4 by 5. The 10 3/4 at the top, we're going to score 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch, and that is our pocket that is going underneath these 2 little flappy-do things. Okay, so now we can start assembling. Okay, so I'm going to bring the book in. First element we're going to do is our little removable accordion album on this side. So we're going to put this together first. Move those over here. Okay, so I have done my score tape. I am going to fold my tabs back and get those burnished. Okay, and what we're going to do get score tape started on this. I'm going to put these 2 together. Make sure everything's lined up evenly and press. And we're doing this basically the exact same way that we do when we're putting our pages together. Okay, so that one's going to go there. This one actually needs to fold the other direction because we're going to try to keep where our tabs are all on the same side. So since this one's going this way, this one's actually even easier. Fold that back. We're going to fold that up like this. So here's your tab, fold it straight up. And then you're just going to push this one in up against that, make sure it's even side to side, and then bend this over. And then, if you wanted to do this with the glue, honestly, that would probably be easier. I just didn't think about it. So here we are. Okay, so this one again, I should have left my backing on there, but that's okay. You can do it with taking the backing completely off. What you're going to do is just kind of get your fingernails on there, get this right up to the end, and push it down. Okay, now we've got our cute little accordion. We are going to take, as soon as I figure out where I put them, the magnets. I found some more. I do need to order some though, because I'm running low. I've been using the big ones a lot lately, so we're going to get out 2 sets. And we're just going to put them, which honestly we could probably do this with 1 set, but I don't want this to like turn. I want it to, you know, kind of stay straight on here when we put this on. So we're going to do 2 sets. Put them right in a line just like that. Actually, I don't think I need this anymore right now, so I'm going to move it out of the way. All right. Get that backing off of there. Okay. Now then, we're going to just kind of center this up as best we can and push down, and there you go. You'll have your little, which we can do a ribbon around this to keep it closed, or we could use another magnet in here to hold it closed. I think what I'm going to end up doing is some seam binding on that one, so we will get to that in a minute. So let's look at our pages. So what we're doing is we're going to fold that tab over, burnish that down, and then you can do this one of 2 ways. You can put your pages down in here, stack them in here one after the other, very similar to how you do a waterfall, or we can decorate them and then put them in the book. So I think I'm going to put them down first, or at least with this first one, we're going to put this down first. And all I'm going to do, and the only reason I'm using score tape is because I already had it on here. But you know what? No, I can do it this way. Okay, so I have score tape. You can put glue over the score tape. It doesn't hurt a thing. But before I do that, let me get a paper towel ready, just to be on the safe side. We can run glue on top of the score tape. Won't hurt a thing. In fact, it actually helps it hold better, because, you know, glue does eventually dry out. Okay, so I can keep my finger out of it. Okay, so you want to go 1/4 inch from the bottom, 1/4 inch from the top as you line this up on your spine, and you don't want it quite in that gusset. You want it kind of where you can see the edge of the chipboard here, okay? And that's why it's better if we can use some glue with this, because even with the score tape and the glue on there, it does give us a little bit of time where we can kind of wiggle this and get it in here just perfectly. We're going to get the glue off the back side of this. then do the same thing. Because once you get that first one in there, and as long as it's relatively straight, it makes it that much easier to put the other ones in behind it. Because when you go to put the other ones in, all you're doing is going to push that up right up against the back of that first page. You're going to line it up with the top, push it up against the back, and then just push it down. Okay? If you're using Michael's cardstock or Joann's or Hobby Lobby or something other than this, the artisan cardstock from Country Craft Creations, which honestly I cannot recommend highly enough. I don't know that I would necessarily try to do it this way. I have done it. I've got another album that was a tutorial by someone else that I did, that they did pages very similar to this, which was kind of why I was like, okay, well, I know it works. And I did use just the white Michael's cardstock, and it did work. And those pages were actually a little bit heavier than these are going to end up being. Yeah, let's not like... but it does make me nervous, like when and if I get around to putting pictures in it, that it might get too heavy. This cardstock, the artisan cardstock, I'm not even the least bit concerned that this is going to be too heavy when some pictures are in here. So, all right, and so we've got a little bit more than ½ inch at the back there. That's fine, but there you go. So our pages are in our book. We're actually going to start decorating. So, page 1, and I do actually need that mat back. Okay, so page 1, we have something here I've done wrong. No, I didn't. Did I? Yeah, I just didn't put tape on here. Okay. So page 1, we've got a pocket that's going underneath here. We've got our big flap that's going to have our frame on it. On the back side of that, we've got this little ½ flap. You're going to set the pocket and the ½ flap aside for right now, and the main flap that the frame is going to go on. We're going to work on the frame. So this method is the exact same thing we're going to do here in a few minutes on, I think it's page 4, 3 or 4, I'm not really sure which one. It's the exact same process for this. Anytime you want to do a frame, this is exactly how we're going to do it. So I have my little T-square here, literally Walmart for like $2, okay? Works just fine. Okay, so we need a 5x7 opening. We have an 8-inch piece of paper here, okay? So I'm going to push this T-square up against the end, and I'm going to mark where ½ inch is. Maybe. Okay, ½ inch. I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Okay, and turn, and mark, and turn, and mark. Okay, so then I'm going to push this down, get it pushed up against the side here, find my line that I just made where the ½ inch is. I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to do this on all 4 sides where I made that mark. And this is going to be my guide to where I'm going to cut out the center of this frame. Okay? All right. Do the same thing on this one. And really, you could do it with just... No, you do need them both. There's a reason for this. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm overthinking what I already figured out that I know works. Okay, so ½ inch, turn, ½ inch, turn, half an inch again, turn. All right, and then we're going to come down here and find our little tick mark, and we're going to draw a line. Okay, so on our little piece that's getting sandwiched in between these two frames, we're going to do the same thing, only instead of doing it half an inch, we're going to back up a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so the mark right next to the half-inch mark. And we're going to do the exact same thing again. Now we've done that, I'm going to, and you can do this one of two ways. I think it works best for me with my Cricut ruler that's got this nice metal edge on it, that's non-slip, and then the True Control knife that I cut my finger on, changing the blade today, and then you're just going to drag it right along that down to where your mark is. Okay, and all we're doing is cutting that center out. And this probably would actually cut through this thin chipboard in one pass, but I'm not pushing super hard just in case, you know, it hits a weird fiber in the paper and kind of goes winging off to the side, because then I have to start all over again. I don't want to do that. Okay. All right. So now, since you can see where everything is, pulling that out, there's our first frame. We're going to do the exact same thing with these. The other method, if you don't want to do it with the ruler, is to bring your trimmer in here. Just line it up. Make sure you do this slowly so that you don't go too far into your frame. And this honestly is probably faster, but this is also where you can really screw it up. Okay. All right. Set that aside for a photo mat. Let's do our last one. And then this is going to get interesting. All right. So now we've got our frames. I'm going to take my 3/8 score tape and I'm going to go around this. I could do it with glue, but with what we're going to do next, it's going to be easier. That just ran out on me. 1 second. Keep going around this, find my end. Okay, flip it over, go around the other side. Also going to go around both of these. When you do this, make sure, I mean, you can always erase your lines, of course, but I always do it with the side that's got my pencil marks on it. I don't have to remember to erase them because they're covered up already. Almost there, I promise. Okay, so now I have somewhere 2 pieces of acetate that are, let's go put a spot on it. These are, let me see here. Yeah, I cut them a weird size. These are 5 7/8 by 7 7/8, I believe. Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of them. We're going to pull all of this backing off. Actually, I don't think I was doing all of it initially. I think I was just doing 2 pieces on this one. Okay. Get it laid down, tap down in 2 places, and then you can come back and get the rest of the score tape. That just helps get it on there a little bit straighter than having it accidentally touch and like stick somewhere you don't want it to stick yet. Okay. Make sure that's good and pushed down. And we're going to turn it over. And then this is, what is this? Glass glitter from Michael's Recollections, Vintage Gold. And this, since we are doing the Neverland paper, is going to be our pixie dust. So, I actually meant to pull these off before I poured that in here, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull the backing off all 4 sides this time. And we're going to cover it with our other piece of acetate. Okay? And the reason I meant to pull this off first, before I put that in there, is because if you get your finger stuck to the nice sticky score tape, which of course is what is going to happen here, you're going to make a mess. But that's okay. Maybe it'll be all right. Okay, I'm going to take the other piece of acetate. I'm just going to center this up on here as best I can and lay it down flat. Push all the way around, make sure everything's sealed in there. And there's our frame. And now we're just going to put our green pieces on both sides. And if you have one frame, because this one might see just a tiny bit of chipboard on one side on this. If you have one side that looks better than the other, make that the side this goes on top. Because I don't know that when we get into the pattern paper, damn it, that we're actually even going to cover this frame. I think I'm just going to leave it the solid green because quite honestly, the whole reason I'm doing the base of this album in green is because there's a lot of green in the backgrounds and whatnot on the papers on this paper collection, and I love it. And this is going to be kind of funky, so this one will turn this towards the back. Oh, for crying out loud. I am just like tape challenge today, I swear. Okay, so yeah, we're going to end up with a little funky spot there, but that's okay. So we have another side. And this side, hopefully, is going to line up a little bit better. Yep, that'll be better. This time we're going to start with a long side instead of a short side, because that was my problem. All right. Now we will be able to, once this is on its flap, you'll be able to get a 5x7 picture in here. And that's kind of cool. All right, so let's move this out of the way. Get some of this mess out of the way. Okay, we're going to bring our book back in. We're going to take our flap and we're going to erase where I've written page 1 on there. And then we're going to take this, we're going to put 3/8" score tape on the back side, on 3 sides, because we need it open at the top. You can make it open at the side if you wanted to. I'm going to do the top. I say that as I get ready to do it wrong, huh? And then we're going to fold this over, get this good and burnished, and then we're going to line this up on top. And then there we'll have our frame with our pixie dust. Of course, if you're doing this with different paper and you don't want to do this step, you don't have to. You can do just a frame. If you're going to do just a frame, you don't need the chipboard piece. You only need one of the top frame square and one piece of the acetate if you're doing this without the shaker. Okay, I'm going to line this up on top of here. And there we go. We can open this up. We can get a picture in here. Okay, so let's bring our book over. We're going to go ahead and put this down so that this flap opens this way. We need to bring it out just a touch from the score on that front page. So you're going to bring it out just about 1/8 of an inch from that score area on your first page. I'm actually going to turn this way so that I can see it side to side here and decide where I'm putting this down. There we go. It is that easy. Okay, so that is going to go like that. This pocket is going to sit right underneath it. So let's go ahead and pull the tape off the bottom of the pocket, fold those 2 tabs in and push them down on there so that forms the bottom of our pocket. And then we're just going to line this up. Actually, I think I am going to go to the bottom of this page with this. Okay. And then our little half page flap, we're going to fold that over and we're going to line that up on the back of our frame. Again, to get that lined up, I'm going to turn it sideways, get it lined up with the edge here. Okay, so you will notice we do have a little bit of a raw edge here. What you can do if you want is you can run some thin twine around that. You could ink that. You could leave it as is. Honestly, I don't think it's that noticeable because we are using that thin chipboard. But here's our first page. Okay, I'm going to flip this over to the next side. And on this side, we have our 2 flaps and our tuck spot. Okay, so again, we're just going to pull the backing off of there. And we're actually going to miter those. Let's miter those really quickly. Okay, and I'm going to set that to the side because actually I think we need to put flaps down first because this does run the entire length of the page and we want these flaps underneath it. So I'm going to crease that. We're going to turn sideways again. You'll notice I do this a lot. A lot of times it's just easier for me when I'm lining stuff up to... These are too tall. Oh my god. Okay, so these are too tall because apparently I cannot do math today. So these ended up being what? They're supposed to be 7.5, not 7 3/4. So, sorry about that. Chop off 1/4 of an inch. And move on. Because apparently this is going to be a theme tonight. Do that miter. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. Look at that. Now it fits. Okay. I'm going to turn it not totally around the other way. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to put this not quite all the way to the bottom, but close. That's going to go there. Okay. And then we'll put our little tuck spot down. All right. Now it's actually slightly bigger than it needed to be. That's okay, because we will fix it just like that. So when we go to decorate, we're actually going to do some ribbon on this to tie these closed, but then they'll just flip open like that, and you'll have a nice little spot to stick some pictures. Okay, page 2 in the front. We have a belly band that's going to go just like this. Okay. That actually, I think I need to adjust ever so slightly. So let's bring this in. Oh, there it is. And I'm going to move that score line over 1/4 of an inch, because otherwise it's going to run into our hinges. Yeah, okay, so we moved that over 1/4 of an inch. It's fine. So really this one should have been, instead of 10 3/4, it should have been 10.5, and then scored it 1/2 inch. But it's an easy fix, so. All right, so let's get this down because it does not interfere with our flaps. Okay. And again, we're going to turn the book. I should just leave it turned. It'd probably make this easier. And center that up. Push it down. Let's push it down. There's our belly band, and now we've got our 2 flaps. Okay, one of these is going down on the corner like this. The other is going up on the opposite corner. Okay. Remember, you want to bring that in just a tiny bit from where our flap is. So what most likely is going to happen here is we're going to put in a magnet. In fact, I'm positive we're going to put in a magnet. So let's just go ahead and do that. Just because I'm going through a couple of layers here, I am going to use the bigger magnets. So I'm going to start with the magnet that's going to be on this top flap. So now we just need to decide, okay, this is going to be our top flap. Okay. What we need to do, pull that one out of the way, get your other half on there, get the backing off, and push that down. It should land right in the middle of your belly band. And there you go. Closes up just beautifully. Okay, back side of page 2 is our waterfall. You all know how to do these. These are easy. You don't miter your corners. We're just gonna fold. And because these are the same height as our pages, this makes it really easy because all we do is just come right up here to this edge and put it down. And this is one where, honestly, I probably should have done this on the page before the page went into the book. It probably would have been a lot easier, but that's okay. It will work just fine this way as well. Again, like I said, that's preference. I know there are a lot of people that decorate everything in its entirety, including matting and all of that, before they assemble the book. I have always been afraid that I'm going to put something in upside down or backwards or something and not realize it until it's too late and I can't fix it. So that's why I don't do it that way. Okay, so with the waterfalls, all you're doing, put one down, then one that goes next to it, just you just push it right up against the edge of the flap from the one before. Honestly, I think this is probably the first time I've done the base of an album in something other than black, white, or craft, so this is kind of a new thing for me. I'm kind of liking it. It's different. Okay, so there's our waterfall. I probably need to get one more in here. We did 7. I almost think I need an 8th page. So let's do that really quickly. All right, so those are 6 by 7.5. And then we score it at 1/2 inch, which is the 6-inch side on the top. And then put my tape on. one more in here. So this makes 8 total instead of 7. Because my math on my waterfalls is never good, and I usually have to literally like clip them all together before I can figure out if I've got enough or not. There we go, much better. All right, so there's our waterfall. I think we are going to put a band across this to hold it. Let's do that really quickly. Let me see here. Okay, so we want it to come about halfway. So this piece is 2 inches. We're going to have it come to about there. So 8.5. Okay, so 2 inches by 8.5. And then we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Let me actually write this down. Okay. We're going to score that at 1/2 inch. Well, maybe we are. Okay. Right. So that I can center this up. And then, it should be the small one. Okay. So, we're gonna actually figure out about how far in we want it there. And then we're gonna put this down over the top. And there we go. We have our waterfall. All right. So now let's find those little angled pockets we did. And they're going to go over here on this page. Literally all there is to this, actually we do need to miter this corner ever so slightly. Same thing down on the bottom. All right, so you can do this again one of 2 ways. It's entirely up to you. It's your preference. You can put down the big pocket and then do the other ones on top of it. So you know 1, 2, 3, or you can assemble it like that off the page and then just put the big one down. I think I am just going to do it on the page. Okay, so backing off of there, fold that over. And line this up at the bottom, just a little bit away from our edge here. And then move the next one. down. Okay. All right, so there's our pockets. On to our next page. All right, so this one, we are going to have a couple little pockets on here with magnetic closures. I've done one. We're going to do the other one together. So what I've done, okay, so this one was scored at 3 inches and at 8 inches. So the part at the top, so here's our 3-inch score line right here. This is going to be the upper flap. This is going to be the bottom flap. We need to come in right here, angle this ever so slightly, which I can honestly do it better from the back side. It's okay. All right, and then we need to cut off along this score line on both sides here. Okay, so we can do this with the paper trimmer. You can do it with scissors if you're comfortable doing it with your scissors. Line that up. Just go right up to that score line and pull that piece off. And do it again on the other side. Okay. Now, I'm going to fold and fold. You're going to fold both of these in. Burnish that down. And stick it down. Okay. So all I did was just kind of hold those down just like this, and then fold it in on itself and push it down. And we're going to take another small magnet. Side about where I want it on this top flap. And if you heard that weird noise, that was my cat, because apparently that's what he's going to do. Okay, so then on the back, because we do want to be able to slide tags in behind this, we're only going to put adhesive on 3 sides. Okay. So now these are going to come over here on this page. And we're going to I'm going to put the one closest to the spine down first. I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch from the edge there. Okay. And I think actually I'm going to leave them about 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom as well. side. And there's our pockets. And that will be fine. Instead, we are going to take the big pocket, or then now I've got pockets across from each other. I don't want to do that either. Okay. So we're going to move what was on the back side of that page to the front side. And that will be just fine. Okay, so this is going to be our 2 angled pockets with the flap. Okay. Flap needs to go down first. Before we put the flap down, we need to put the other 2 flaps on it. Okay. So okay. So my score line's right here. I'm going to center these up on the edge here. And then do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Then we're going to put this down. And we're going to center it on this page. Okay. Now that that's down, we can trim the inside corner of our pockets. We can slightly miter those corners. Okay. All right, so we're going to put this down here at the edge. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This will fold up like this, and it needs a magnet. So, we're going to use a big one on this one. Okay, so we open these flaps up, put this down in here. Again, we're going to get the backing off, just like we've been doing. We're going to fold it up, and there we go. There we go. All right, we're on the home stretch. So, I think we're going to do our other pocket right here. And we're going to move the little belly band that was supposed to be on the back of page 5 to the back of page 4. which you can put these in here in any order you want to. It doesn't matter. You want to move it around? Move it around. Be my guest. I don't care. Because when you do it, it will be your creation. When I'm doing it, it's my creation. I am here for inspiration. Okay. So we're going to get those folded over. Get our tape backing off. I'm going to center this up here. Turn it just a little bit so I can see what the heck I'm doing over on this side. Fold it over now. And then we've got another little half-page flap that's going to go on top of the belly band. So all right, there's our half-page flap. All right, coming to this other side, we're going to do our accordion. And we're going to actually build this and then put it on the page. Okay, so here's your back. The next one is going to be the next size down. So I'm actually going to flip these upside down so that as I'm picking them up, I'm picking up the next one that goes. Okay, so this is going to come all the way to the edge here, center it up, turn it around. Center it up again, down and turn, and just keep repeating as you go. On these, I did not miter the corners because I'm treating it kind of like an alternative to a waterfall. So you don't want to see that mitered corner when you mat this under here, just because of the way this is going to function. Okay, let me turn it one more time on our last little flap. All right, and there is our accordion. And it's actually going to go in the book this way. However, I am not going to put this one down yet because we are actually going to run some ribbon around it, because I don't think, I don't know, Nick. Because I don't think the magnets are quite strong enough to go all the way through this. I don't know, I might surprise myself here. Oh, they are. Well then, in that case, I know, we'll worry about it in a minute. I'm almost done. All right, in that case then, so let's center this up. It's not working for me today. Down in there. I really didn't think they'd be that strong. I am blown away. That's awesome. I really need to order a whole bunch more of this one. Of the big ones. The big ones are awesome. The little ones are nice. I really like the big ones better, I think. Ha ha ha. That worked out much better than expected. All right, so we're going to take our big pocket that was going to go on the back of the book. We're going to put it here. That flappy thing's going to go on the back, where I know for sure that it will fit. It's okay. Things happen. Okay, so this pocket is going to have a 1/4 of an inch, like, gusset to it, okay? So what we need to do is I'm trying to remember the last time I did these, what worked best. Okay, so on the score line here, I'm going to trim out that little rectangle. So this is my first score line, this is my second score line. And then I'm going to take and trim on the second one. I think that's how I did it last time. So then when it goes in, okay, so yeah, when that goes in, you're going to fold that one up. We're going to actually trim off this other little piece. Yeah, okay, that is how it goes. Okay, so, all right. Okay, so what you're going to do on this score line, and hopefully you can see this. So there's 2 score lines here, okay? The inside one, you're going to trim it all the way up. The one next to it, you're going to trim it all the way up. And then you're going to trim in to the first score line. Okay? So that when this gets folded, fold here, we're going to fold here. That little tab is going to go inside here. Okay? So see how that sits down in there? Okay? Sorry, off camera, didn't realize it. And then like that to form your corner. Okay? So I'm going to put just a tiny bit of glue on here. And that one's got score tape somehow. Okay. So we're going to fold in and over, and I'm going to press that little tab down. Okay. Then I'm going to pull this backing. And I'm going to bring this one up, push that out to that outside corner, and there we go. On this side, since somehow I ended up with score tape on this side, I ran it a little further than I intended. But that's okay, because we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Okay, so you're going to run that little tab into there. You're going to pull the backing off of this. And you're going to push this over, bring it to that end, and then pinch it down in there. Okay? So this is now going to go on here. This pocket we're going to run all the way to the outside. Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, son of a bitch. Sorry. Where is? Okay. Hold on. We will fix this. We'll be okay. If I can get this open with one hand. Okay. There we go. There we go. All right. Whew. That was scary for just a second. Note for the record, undo does not work on glue, so fortunately we weren't using glue. All right, so we're gonna run this out all the way out to the outer corner of the page. All right, now come in here, pull that off. As I literally knock over everything. We will come back across to the other side. Okay, and that still is not working right. All right, we're going to change plans here. Okay, so that pocket was too big. What we're going to do instead is this. We're going to do stuff's just not cooperating tonight, and that's fine. We're going to do it to the edge again. Put it down to the bottom. All right. Now, find our little flap for the top. We will go ahead and use that. I just need to put a little bit more score tape on there. because we don't need that 1/4 inch gap. And that's okay. Turn this around, center it up. All right, and we're going to use a couple of small magnets to hold this one closed. Maybe, if I can get them out. All right, so we're going to do these out towards the corners, as long as they're going to have enough space. Oops. Okay. There we go. All right, so let's go back to our other fun little frame. So these are now going to go in the very back here, like so. They do touch in the middle, just like that. So that's fine. Now they will fit. I'm going to set those flaps to the side for right now. We have, which actually we can attach this one to this flap. So let's do that first. Okay, we've got one frame cut, tight, taped, ready to go. Got our 2 pieces of acetate. We need to cut this one out. I'm actually going to try something a little bit different this time. I'm going to cut, because this is 3/8 inch tape that's on here. And that's basically how much space we need around this frame. All right. Of course, that didn't go all the way through, because it's chipboard, you know. Okay, this again. Grab that knife, and I should just be able to go through. Yep, there we go. All right, now we're in business. All right, so you have tape on both sides of those. Let's go ahead and do our little glitter piece. Let's get dust off of that. And this is actually, this acetate is a little bit heavier. This is actually Graphics, the same people that make my chipboard. Graphics acetate. I don't remember if it had a name as far as like the weight or if it had an actual like number for the weight. All I know is I bought it on Amazon to make some little box cards that I did like the layers that stand up in the card itself. I did them clear to kind of give the impression that, you know, all my little elements that were on top of them were floating. Okay, let's not get too crazy here. And they came out really neat, but this was like ultra heavy acetate, which was kind of nice. And I need to order some more of it, but I have like a whole bunch of scraps that are just like the right size for this, and I didn't have any bigger ones for the other piece, so it's okay. We're going to do the same thing here. Okay. Let's not do that with the knife that I already cut my finger open with. Let's do it with the one that's really dull, that I can't cut myself with anymore. Okay, so there's that, which really, like I said, we don't have to put the back on here. And just for time's sake, I'm not going to. I think I'm going to leave it just like that. So I'm going to run score tape around 3 sides. And really with these smaller ones, you probably don't need to do the frame on both sides. You'd be fine doing it on one side because they're a lot easier to line up and get on there right than the bigger ones are. When you get to the bigger ones, then it's a little bit harder. Okay. Okay. And we're going to line this up on here. I'm going to bring this back in. And get this down. Let's kind of line it up before we put that down. Yep, okay. There we go. And then we just need to stick our pocket down underneath, which you could absolutely skip if you wanted to. And there we go. And those open up like that. And that goes down underneath. And there we have it. Okay, so our book is finished. Now for decoration. For the outside, I have a plan on how we're going to keep this closed, but we'll get to that here in a minute. I'm going to get some paper ready and we'll be back to Matt. Okay, so I have a kind of a fun little element that I have come up with for the front of the book, and this is actually going to be the magnetic closure that's going to hold the book shut. So all I have is a 4x6 cut apart that I've mounted on a piece of chipboard. Okay, normal chipboard, heavy chipboard like you use for your books. I've got 5/8 score tape down 2 sides. I also have a piece of acetate that's got dusty fingerprints on it somehow, that is 6/8. What we're going to do is we're going to score this at 1 inch. You do have to kind of hold this in here to do this, but it can be done. I have made card bases out of this. This is just Scotch clear, I don't even know what they are, like the things that go on like overhead projectors, and these are ones you can write on. I don't know. I've had them for, God, probably 10 years. I have a whole box of them. Anyway, so you're going to score it 1 inch, turn it, score it 1 inch again. Okay, turn it. This time you're going to score it 7/8. So one long side will be 1 inch, one long side will be 7/8, and then the same thing on the opposite side. So one short side will be 1 inch, one short side will be 7/8. Okay? Now, move this out of the way. I don't know if this will be easier to see if it's on top of something. Probably not. Actually, I think that's better. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pull the score tape off of one side, or the backing off the score tape off of one side. We're going to take that, we're going to put it right up against this, the score line at the bottom, and just fold the acetate over and press it down. Okay? We're going to open this back up. We're going to take another just tiny piece. I don't know if I got the tape and not just the backing, huh? Hold on. I've lost my little thing I turn my score tape with. So, again, for like the 3rd time in the last 10 minutes. Oh my gosh. There it is. Okay. Okay. We're going to take and we're going to put another little tiny piece just on this flap. Okay. And you're going to put it up close to the score line on that flap. Okay. We're then going to pull the score tape off of the other end. And actually, before we do that, let's put our score tape on these 2 flaps as well. Sorry, I've tried this a couple of different ways, and this seems to be the best option. Okay, so we're going to pull the score tape off, or the backing off the score tape on the other side. And we're going to line this up once again against our score line. And then we're going to fold and press. Okay, so see how this leaves like a bubble in the top of this? That is what we want. So now we're going to pull this little bit of score tape out of here. We're going to fold this flat. Okay? Doesn't matter that it's ugly. So you can see the tape in there, because this is going to get folded over again and you're not going to see it. Okay? All right, so now take our score tape again on one side. We're going to run it all the way across. And then we're going to get the backing off, of course. And then we're going to fold again. And actually, before we fold, since we've got tape holding those closed, I am just going to miter that ever so slightly on that taped edge. Okay, don't go down too far or you're going to end up with little bitty holes that you will have no way to cover up. Okay, push that down. Okay, so now we've got a pocket. Now what we're going to do, and try not to make a mess, is we're going to take our gold glitter pixie dust here, and we're going to put it in this end and tap it down in. Just a tiny bit more. Okay. And tap it down in. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to close up this little bit of a gap. And over here as well. Okay. And miter on the taped section only, just ever so slightly. Okay. Now we're going to run score tape across the back again. Release our backing, and this time you're going to kind of push it so it pops up, and then over you go. And there is our cute little element with our pixie dust. Okay? Now, back side of this looks terrible. It's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to get our magnets on here. Or our, well, maybe we are. Man, I am just having magnet problems today. And, okay, we're going to put our magnets on the back here. And then we're going to cover the entire back of this with another one of the 4x6 cut-aparts. So this I'm actually going to put down with score tape. To make sure, because this will get pulled on quite a bit. I'm going to run some down the middle too. Okay. Alright, and then you're just going to line this up on the back, press it down, and there is our pixie dust. Okay, let's talk for a minute about inserts. So this album has a ton of inserts. the majority of them, with the exception of the biggest one, I did make out of scraps that were left over from the construction of the book. I also took the cut aparts, so I've got the 4x4, 4x6, and then the 3x4 somewhere. Let me find one of them. Maybe. So I did take the cut aparts and mat them just on scraps that I had left from the construction of the book. So these have been inserted into pockets and tuck spots and things all over throughout the album. I then took some of my scraps, cut them to 3x6, and made tags. Okay. I made 12 tags total. I matted these with the 6x6 paper pad. Okay. So there's going to be 12 of those total if you choose to do those. And of course, the inserts and whatnot, it's entirely up to you what you want to do. If you want to do them, if you don't want to do them, I totally get it, because this album does take a lot of paper. And then this was just 4 1/4 inch wide strips I had left that I just literally folded in half and made into little inserts and put 4x6 cut aparts on the front. For the bigger inserts, and there are 6 of these. For the bigger inserts, I did actually cut a new piece of paper. These are 6x8. I did cut 4 pieces 6x8 and then 4 pieces 6x9 and scored them at 1 inch so that these would close nice and flat. And then just attached them and then matted them. However, all of these, other than the tags, because I did use the 6x6 paper pad on the tags, all of the other inserts were matted using scraps. So it's entirely up to you if you want to do them or not. If you don't, if you want to just do normal photo mats, go right ahead. I just, at this point, was trying to use up the 9 million scraps I had sitting in a pile next to me, and that's what I decided to do with them. So at this point, you know, it's just a matter of decorating your book. The book is decorated. I'm sure if you're to this point, you have seen all of this on the walkthrough, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. But I'm just going to put some of my inserts and things back. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there is so much room for inserts in this book that you really could do whatever you wanted to with inserts with this, and it would be great. But yeah, so, you know, I've just gone through, I've added enamel dots, I've added stickers, I've added chipboard pieces, I've added oh my gosh, stuff from the ephemera pack, just a little bit of everything, and that'll do it. So thanks for following along. If you do make your own version of this book, by all means, please share it and tag me at Scrapping Under the Influence. And thanks for checking this out.